Hey guys, this is Amanda with the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center, and I have Heather with me over here. Hey Heather.
Good morning.
And we have an incredible guest today. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Josh Green. He is the Virginia Small Business Development Center Director for our ICAP program. And some of you guys have been involved in that, or you've seen us. We've been doing this for a couple years now here in Roanoke. And I just want you guys to meet Josh so you can learn more about it. And now we're doing virtual sessions, so it's even easier to get involved. Josh, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I want you to tell us what ICAP stands for.
Yeah, absolutely. So ICAP is the Innovation Commercialization Assistance Program. So everything you need to know about us is pretty much in the name.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So tell me about the program a little bit more and what you guys do in the program and what people are going to learn when they come into it.
Sure. So the simplest way I found to describe it is that we work with folks who have some sort of technology or innovation venture that they are looking to, in the long term, receive funding for and then scale. So there's the kind of the short snippet. The little bit more detail is wherever an entrepreneur is in their process, if they have a technology that they've created, a product that they've created, we will take them into the program and we will assess basically what their needs are, and then we'll put them in a particular path to address those specific needs. A vast majority of the folks who work with us will start with our introductory course, and that introduces them to the Lean Startup methodology. And that's as taught by the National Science Foundation's I-Corps program. So the focus is to actually go out and not sell your product or your idea, but first learn what the market is in need of. So if you think that you have a cybersecurity solution that is, particularly focused on medium to small business enterprises, you actually go and you speak to business owners and you talk about, or you ask them, about what they're doing related to security and infrastructure, so that when they tell their story, you can hear about, well, I'm really concerned about having a distributed workforce now that everybody's working remotely. And if that topic continues to come up, then you can understand that there's a need there of something. And then we go further into say, all right, well, is it a big enough need where we call it a hair on fire problem, something where it keeps them up at night, that if you said, all right, well, I have this solution, it doesn't matter what the price is, they will pay it because it solves a real problem. There are a number of startup organizations. One of them is CV Insights, and they have done research that over half of all businesses that are startups that fail is because they've created a product that nobody wants. And so what we deal with on a regular basis is entrepreneurs who say, hey, I've built this, I've developed this, it's this wonderful new thing, and everybody's going to want to buy it. And we try to help walk them through the process of there's a particular way in order to prove that, because venture capital and angel capital right now is very difficult to come by. A lot of investment is happening, but a majority of that is with companies that those angel groups and those venture groups have already invested in. So giving them just a little bit more runway to continue, because things have been delayed and postponed because of COVID. So for folks to get new investment right now, they really have to have a validated business model, a validated market. Different people call it different things, but have actually shown that people want a particular item that has been created, the exact customer, and then why they're buying it, the value they receive. So our program will work with entrepreneurs from very beginning, if they just have an idea on the back of a napkin, all the way through to some folks have already received investment dollars and they need some guidance to help form new partnerships or understand what it's going to take to scale. And we take pride in the fact that we can provide assistance across that entire spectrum.
And I have to tell everyone who's watching today, I have had the pleasure of watching this process 4 times now. And everyone that I've seen go through this program comes out on the other side with so many tweaks to their product or service. In some cases, a complete pivot from going through this. And that has set them up for incredibly successful investment and growth opportunities, especially even with research grants, right? Like those who need money to continue research, going through this program can set you up and prepare you to be ready for that, so those applications are successful. So, Josh, I know you don't do all this, right? Like you're not doing all of that. You're one person. Like, what does the team look like? Who are they going to be working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful point there. So over the past almost 3 years that we have been around, we've worked with over 450 Virginia-based companies. Wow. And we have a team of 9 adjunct instructors, and then we have another another core of instructors who actually deliver the content. But our adjunct instructors are successful entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs who have had experience building, growing, and then exiting organizations. And in addition to that, they have all gone through a National Science Foundation I-Corps, national I-Corps program, where it is one of the most intensive programs to really understand that it doesn't matter what an entrepreneur thinks is the reason why somebody would buy. It matters that you go out and you prove it by talking to potential customers. And that is one of the greatest resources that we have in terms of this pool of really talented, what I'd like to say is the most talented technology commercialization assistance program advisors in the Commonwealth. So we have a majority of them live in Northern Virginia, but a few live in the Norfolk, Hampton Roads area. And prior to COVID, we would travel across the Commonwealth to the different cohorts. Now everything's virtual. At some point in the future, we will go back to offering some in-person local programming, but for now we're remaining virtual. And the team is able to help entrepreneurs as much as they need it and as much as they're sticking to the program. So as long as they are continuing to do the work and progress, we have a number of teams from our very first cohort back in January of 2018 that we're still working with. One just joined the ramp cohort that started over the summer, and another is expanding their business regionally. So we've really had some great success. Of the 450 teams that have gone through, a vast majority, because we work with very early stage companies, have not continued, or they were not successful. They learned that what they thought was going to be successful wasn't going to be the case. So we currently have, of those 450, about 150 that we're still considering active, that are still actively engaged in the program. And that's not to say that any of these people aren't smart enough or aren't dedicated enough, but it is extremely hard to be an entrepreneur and to build something from the ground up. So we try to be very aware and open and transparent and honest about not our assessment of what they're doing. We're technology agnostic. We don't care, what their business venture is in the context of judging it. All we care about is making sure that they are validating their market. So a lot of folks find that there's no market there, or they, like to what you said earlier, they have to pivot. And we have had a successful track record of the folks who are ready for investment. We will make recommendations to, depending on where they are. So if they're in Roanoke, we would make some different recommendations than if somebody is in Southern Virginia or Central Virginia. But we do make a lot of referrals. Of the referrals we make to CIT, the Center for Innovative Technology, and they are the most active investor in the Commonwealth. So they have a reach across the state, and of the folks who have gone through our program, they've had over $22 million in follow-on capital, which for us is a really big win for as early stage companies that we work with. And we have worked over this time to develop relationships with investors all over the Commonwealth to make sure that, you know, the people who need resources are connected to them at the right time. And that's one of the benefits we have with the program is that we don't refer everybody to an investor, because we have the track record and the credibility that when we send somebody to an investor, you know, they listen, and we are tracking not quite at 100%, but almost at 100% of investment when we make a referral.
That is fantastic. Did you guys hear that? 22 million in follow-on capital from folks that have gone to this program. That is, I didn't know that number, Josh. So that's really exciting to hear, because you always wonder, we got these great programs in place, but what's the outcome? And that's certainly an outcome that we can look at and say, wow, that makes this program worth going through. So I have a couple more questions about this. How long can they expect to be in the program?
So there are a couple parts and there are a couple paths. So for folks who join our introductory course, it is about 2.5 weeks, and that is, as the name mentions, it's just an introduction. It teaches the concepts. It's the shot in the arm to go out and do customer discovery, and do so with a high level of accountability and have a little bit more intensive coordinated assistance. After that is really when folks become ICAP clients, when they continue to work with their adjunct instructor. They will continue to do customer discovery interviews. As they're learning more, they will make some business decisions. And ultimately that culminates into validating a business model. Once they do that and they build out a team and they start looking at developing a minimal viable product, and an MVP, some people call that a prototype or a proof of concept, a lot of different names, but having something that customers can look at, sometimes feel, we will then help them with generally some sales pilots, wanting to test out, is this market responding the way that we think they're going to? And for some folks, then that goes into, we're going to recommend they go to an accelerator, or go to an angel, or go to CIT. For some people, that can be 6 months. There are people that we're working with that it's almost 3 years that we're working with them. Being an entrepreneur is, you know, there's nothing fast about it. It's really, again, as I mentioned, it's hard work. It takes a lot of dedication. And we've got the folks who can help provide guidance to help them prepare themselves to make the decisions based on, you know, real information that they're gleaning from the market, and then connecting them with the right resources at the right time.
I love that approach, because one, it's a lonely place to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, who do you ask, right, when you have questions? And this is just a great opportunity for you as an entrepreneur to focus on your product or service, what you're developing, the technology, and let other people around you help mentor and connect you to the right resources. It's such a wise way to start and plan a business, particularly around technology, because there's just so much that goes into that. And having you all as a resource, and the team that you have lined up, which I know so many of them, and they are amazing. I love talking to them. I love hearing their stories. And I want to tell you guys who are watching, if you're considering this, let me tell you, if you want to go in front of an investor, do this program first, because you'll get a little practice of what it's like being in front of someone who's going to poke holes and ask questions. And so I always joke with people, like, they'll come to us at our center and say, we're ready to talk to an investor. And we typically know that's not the case. They're not quite as ready, and we'll start leading to that process. And as soon as an ICAP comes open, we're like, you need to go do this, because that in-person or virtual, when you guys are given that feedback, it's just such a good learning opportunity. It's a little bit like being in the hot seat, but everybody, like, once you do it, you watch everybody go through this. And it's just this really cool, supportive environment from everyone. I love, like, watching it all happen. So great experience. Let me ask, okay, so 2.5 weeks for the intro program, and that's not all day, right? Like there's like,
yeah. So for the virtual program, it is the half part of the week is the first 3 days, and those are 3-hour sections where we do some lecture content, and then we have breakout rooms to have teams work with their adjunct instructor in small groups, give their introductory presentation. And these aren't pitches like you would for an investor. It's specifically talking about developing a hypothesis and then going out and testing that hypothesis through the interview process. And at the end of it, you're able to have a little bit better understanding of how do you develop a business thesis. You know, what is your product? Who is your customer? Why are they buying? And to your point about practice for an investor is, you know, that most investors are going to ask very few questions about what is your technology. They're going to want to understand what it is you do and some of the nuances of why you might be different than other people, but they're really going to be asking a lot about, you know, who's going to buy this? Why are they going to buy it? Who do you approach? And, you know, what is the cost of acquisition for your customers? It's very separate from the idea. And a lot of people who generally are brilliant, technically minded, they're not thinking about that business side that we help. And the purpose of the National Science Foundation's I-Corps program was specifically developed to get technically minded entrepreneurs and researchers in the mindset of, okay, what are the important business processes and aspects that we need to be thinking about now? Because a lot of times when people develop a product, it's to solve their own issue that they are seeing. And, you know, we help kind of break them out of that mold that just because you built it doesn't mean people are going to come and buy it. They certainly could, but, you know, most often we will talk to people and we say, oh, great, you have you know, I'll give a hypothetical of, I have a cybersecurity solution. And we say, okay, who's your customer? And they say, well, everybody's our customer. Everybody needs this. And while somebody like a Symantec or other large organizations that already have products in the market, they have resources, they may be able to say, all right, we're going to sell this to everybody. We're going to put a different package on it for different people, but we're selling the same product. And entrepreneurs don't have that luxury. So they have to start with, you know, looking at a particular customer segment that they're going to target. They can prove out what they're doing, because then they can get the capital to say, we can go large scale. Another of the big pieces that folks come into our program assuming is that angels and venture firms give money to finish developing a product or to prove something out. They don't do that anymore. They did maybe, you know, 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and you could come in with a great business plan and they give you millions of dollars to go start the idea. Nowadays, back to what I was saying earlier, they want to see that you have a validated market, that you've got some sales traction, because they want to de-risk the investment as much as possible. So there are grants, like you mentioned, Amanda. There's the, you know, SBIR grants through the federal government, through the Commonwealth. There's the CRCF grant, which is going to be going through a little bit of a change with the new state board. So there are grants that are meant to help develop a technology, but they're fewer and further between. So a lot of folks have to, you know, raise money on their own. Investors often want to see that, you know, people are putting their own money in to start, so that they've got some skin in the game, and that they feel this is worth putting investment dollars in. So there's a couple of high-level programmatic things that we teach, and then there are the more on-the-ground things that we teach. And we try to make sure that at least at the end of that 2.5 weeks, that folks understand better this idea of, again, it doesn't matter how amazing my technology or my product is. It matters what the customer thinks about it and if they're going to be buying. So, sorry, I went on a little bit deep there, but the program itself, it's 3 days of 3 hours to get started. There's a week for people to go out, do customer discovery interviews, meet with their adjunct, get some feedback. We have a midpoint call, which is about 2 hours, so that we can cycle through all the teams. And they give a brief update of what they went out to do, what they were trying to learn, what they learned, and then what they plan to do next. We then have another week where they're doing the same thing. They're using what they learned in the first week to make some changes. They're meeting with their adjunct instructor to get some advice on, deeper questions or how to glean a little bit more out of what they're learning from the interviews. And then we have a final presentation, which is a report on what they learned throughout the process and then what they need to do next. Because again, it's just that shot in the arm, and then they're going to continue to do it, but it's just a little bit more on their own. We continue to reach out. We do a newsletter every other month through all of our teams. We have a monthly call. The one for September was just a couple days ago. And we talk about particular topics related to entrepreneurship. We have guest speakers, we have investors come in, and then we continue to have teams present about the milestones that they've hit. So there's constant engagement and opportunities for people to stay involved. And we see the folks who are constantly coming, they're presenting, they're sticking with the process, and they're finding some really big wins. And we are really excited about all of the companies that we've been able to work with. And then now that we have gone virtual, we're able to work with a lot more people because we can touch anybody in Virginia. So had some folks from, even further southwest than you all the way to, some of the, rural central Virginia cities and towns. And we're really happy that we're able to leverage this now to where as long as you have an internet connection that you can at least talk, you don't need to worry about driving or taking much time off of work, which has been something that has been an issue in the past because a lot of people that come through our program have full-time jobs. So this makes it a little bit easier for them to do that.
I love that. And you mentioned the internet, particularly in our rural areas. I'm in Roanoke City, and if I'm on Wi-Fi, it's hard to do this type of thing if I'm not connected to a network connection. So I do want to say our office, we're in downtown Roanoke. We also have offices in Blacksburg and Radford. We have space in Pulaski. If anyone needs to come and do this and use we've got the big Zoom room with the big TV. People are welcome to use our office to meet. And even if there's a couple people in our area going through the program and they want to do it together and watch this, we have all the safety precautions in place. So you're welcome to come see us for that. And we'd be glad to host you. Not you, Josh, the ones who are watching and want to be part of the ICAP, because one of the beauties of this is that connection and networking too with other entrepreneurs. It can be a lonely place, and to be able to see other entrepreneurs progressing and what they're doing, even if you have completely different products, is just so incredibly valuable. That's one of the things that I enjoy watching the ICAP program for. And those that we have gone through it, that's one of their biggest, outside of the knowledge that they get, it's just so cool to be around other people doing this, and there's momentum in that.
Yes.
Okay, so let me think. Have I left? Is there anything you want to say while I rack my brain to make sure I've covered everything? Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. Again, we are a free program offered by Virginia Small Business Development Center Network, and the only kind of currency that we ask for is that people continue to stick with the process if they want to use the time of our adjunct instructors. So we want to make sure that if anybody needs assistance or has questions, absolutely reach out to us. And then we would also advocate if somebody says, we got this, we know, we're so sure, at least reach out. We'll be happy to schedule a half an hour just to sit down and talk and understand more about your venture, and if there's anything that we would make recommendations for to make you either that much more secure, or say, hey, we have some thoughts that you may want to look into this a little deeper. We're happy to do that. We don't ask for anything in return, so we're just here to help folks within the Commonwealth to be successful.
That is incredible. I have to tell you, I'm just really excited that you're virtual right now too. There's a lot of planning that goes into these live events, finding a host for them and all the things that go into it. So I know that we want to return to that and get people together in person, but the virtual option right now is incredible. I know people are enjoying it. When does the next one start? Like the intro part, if they wanted to do that.
So our next cohort, which we call our November cohort, but it actually starts in October. The deadline to apply is October 20th. And if folks are interested, they can go to virginiaspdc.org/ICAP. And near the top of the page, it gives the listing of all of our cohorts, and the top one is November. The introduction call, which is the kickoff, is October 21st, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. Everybody who's interested is absolutely welcome to attend that. Even if you don't want to apply and you just say, hey, Josh, can I attend to kind of learn more? You're welcome to. I can give you the access information. And from there, all the teams are assessed, and we pick the teams that we feel are going to stick with the program and stick with the methodology. We don't pick on who we think has the best idea or who we think is going to raise the most capital. It's purely who is going to stick with the methodology. Because we're a free program and we don't have endless funding, we do have limits on the number of folks who we can take through each cohort. So we will make our pick for the cohort sometime within the October 22nd to October 31st timeframe. And then I think on November 1st, we will make the announcement of who's selected. November 3rd is when the actual cohort starts, and it will go for the first 3 days of content. And then we'll have, I think, our last program on November 19th, so we finish up before the Thanksgiving week.
Fantastic. So October 20th, deadline to apply. We'll make sure that everyone watching this has that link. We'll get it to you, and we'll put it in the video notes, and we'll share it on social. And Josh, if someone wants to talk more about this before they apply, who do they contact?
Me.
Okay. So I will
throw my contact in there as well, and absolutely. I'm happy to talk to anybody who has questions.
Okay, fantastic. Heather, did I leave anything out? Do you want to ask anything before we hop off?
No, you guys did a great, this was awesome. I'm so excited. I think the one part that, like you said, Amanda, with the virtual piece, I think it's amazing to encourage people from all over to collaborate is huge.
All right. Well, we will look forward to the announcement in November of who's going to be in the cohort. We will get people signed up before October 20th. And thank you, Josh, for being here and explaining all that. I loved the detail. I think people need to know that, and they need to know what they're getting into. It's easy just to say, oh, we have this great program, you should do it. But like to really understand the value in it. And we can't do that. You can do that. You can explain that. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day. And I don't know if you have water or coffee nearby, but we're going to do a cheers. If not, you can give us a fist bump. But cheers, everyone. Fantastic. And we will see you. When's our next one, Heather? When are we going to be on next?
We will be on next on October 16th with Lois James, talking about leading during a challenging time.
Wow, that's a big one. Okay, cool. So we'll see you guys in October. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.